Hello, all of my wonderful friends and foes. Today we will be discussing something that a lot of clowns shy away from. If they're a certain kind of clown will shy away from it, and a certain kind of clown is drawn towards to it. So we're going to talk about clouraphobia today. I have my notes with me. As always, let's get started. So the earliest portrayal of a scary clown that I could come up with was Pagliacci, because it's a story of a clown who kills his wife because she was cheating on him, and it was kind of solidifying clowns with the association with tragedy and violence in that way. But clowning goes back so far, even to ancient Egypt, where clowning actually has roots in religion. And even now, modern clowns, you'll have religious clowns that do stuff at churches purely, only, and use it to teach the gospel to people. Back in Egypt, they were used as a way to breach religion and comedy together in a way that some people found disturbing. Then you also have something similar with Native Americans and in Europe. And then you have the jester, and the jester was kind of a mean-spirited character. And I have a jester character that I play every year at the Renaissance Festival. I'm not the jester there, right? I just go and have fun and make fun of people. Because in my mind, that's what a jester does. He has the right to clown on absolutely everybody and anybody, even the king, and elicit some type of response, whether it be squirting you with water, or making you laugh, or making you cry, or making you embarrassed. And a lot of these things tie into why people are scared of clowns. Joseph Grimaldi definitely is a huge figure in clowning, but he also kind of had a hand in creating like the unpleasant clown stereotype. Then you have things kind of like what they call a Punching Judy show, which is a clown puppet show with a few characters where the main clown, Mr. Punch, pretty much beats his wife with a stick. That's like the whole thing. So, you know. But then you start to get to other real-life influences of why people don't like clowns. And the obvious, actually one of the only real-life killer clowns to ever exist was John Wayne Gacy as Pogo the Clown. But he didn't kill people as Pogo, I don't think. But he definitely was a predator. He killed 33 young men and boys and used his status as a community figure to murder these people and torture them. And he's an awful, horrible, bad man. I don't really want to talk about him further, but because we're talking about this, I have to at least bring him up. He was the most infamous clown in history, in real history, but then you have a lot of influences in pop culture that are kind of referencing him and all these other clowns in general. I think the most famous one is the Joker. And he kind of solidified this effect that clowning equals chaotic. And that's what a lot of haunt clowns pull from, I think, that and It. Because they create this scary, chaotic type of vibe where you never know what's gonna happen next. And then he obviously has Harley Quinn as his sidekick, and Harley Quinn clown was kind of solidified as a villainous figure in history a while back. A movie called He Who Gets Slapped which isn't necessarily about a violent clown, but it's definitely eerie to the point where it could elicit some fear in people of clowns. And then you have the Joker. Back to the Joker. His style was pulled from the Laughing Man. That's why he looks that way. And so there's like obviously a whole thing about his backstory and everything. And I don't really want to get into it, to be honest, because I'm not here to talk about that. I'm just here to talk about the influences that these clowns have had on the fear of clowns in society. And that was in 1940. It was the first time the Joker was ever a thing. But then you go back even further and you have Edgar Allan Poe's Hop Frog, which is the story of a jester who's planning to kill the king in the royal court because they were beating his friend. So there's that. And that was in 1849. And then you go back to Rome, the Archimedes, they mocked people at their own funerals. So it would be like, if I died, a clown would come and make fun of me at my own funeral. And of course, we can't talk about killer clowns without talking about Stephen King's It. Novel, miniseries, and TV series. We'll just lump them all together. They're all slightly different from each other, but they're all base material from the It book. And that design of why Pennywise is a clown sometimes in the books, and then most of the time in the movie and TV show, is because it elicits fear due to the John Wayne Gacy situation. Elicits fear about clowns in a way where John Wayne Gacy happened in 1978 and it came out in 1986, so not even 10 years later. And it is cited that Pennywise was inspired by John Wayne Gacy in some ways. He is a clown because it elicits this thing in children where they're either feared of clowns or they trust clowns, so when they go up to him, then he can trick them and eat their arms and rip their arms off and kill them. And in 1992, the Poltergeist movie came out, and there's a scene where a killer clown doll attacks a child. And that definitely caused some type of fear in clowns, especially clown dolls. And of course, then we have Art the Clown, who's the modern killer clown. And he is cited to be inspired by Pennywise, but in the exact opposite ways that Pennywise is. So Pennywise is colorful, he talks, he has hair, he doesn't use weapons. Art the Clown is black and white, he has no hair, he doesn't talk, and he uses any weapons he could possibly find. There's a great YouTube videos about the Terrifier series I definitely recommend you watch, especially if you've just seen the movies and you feel maybe like, this is just gore, this is just legal gore. Well, in a way, yes. Also in a way, it's got a really interesting story and background and reasoning for the way it is, and I suggest you go do your own research on that and look into it if you're interested in that type of thing. And then you get to things like the American Horror Story Freak Show that had the killer clown character. That's obviously based very, very highly on John Wayne Gacy, honestly. Like, that's just the clearest way of it. And then you have video games, like Left 4 Dead 2. There's a whole carnival mission where you go through the carnival, and at the end you get saved, because that's how Left 4 Dead works. But that is my all-time favorite video game ever, possibly. So I could go on and on about it. But there is a special infected that they added to the second game for that specific level that is a clown. You can honk his horn, and if you hit him with like a melee hit, it honks his horn, and you get a certain amount of honks, and you get an achievement. So that even could have installed the fear in my generation of clowns. I mean, it definitely already did. Then that, you know, kind of added to it. That was a very small part of the game, though. And so now, I would like to discuss why people are afraid of clowns. Because I don't find clowns to be scary. I really don't. I do find certain aspects of clowns to be unnerving. Big noses, I do find those scary, okay? Certain aspects of makeup, I do find scary. And that's why I do mine in a certain way where it's cute. It's supposed to be cute. It's supposed to elicit like a, "Aw, that's adorable." Not a, "Holy shit, what the fuck am I looking at?" You know? And that's why I have the hearts, because the hearts kind of symbolize like caring, loving, goodness. The rounded features of my makeup, besides obviously the points on the eyebrows, elicit a feeling of comfortable, happy, joyous, right? But all these scary clowns like John Wayne Gacy and It and most haunt clowns, their makeup has a lot of sharp points in it and sharp angles and sharp shapes, because that elicits a different type of feeling than a more rounded out makeup. And when you're going to clown school, they teach you this specifically. When you're starting your makeup, stay away from sharp edges. That's what people find scary. Lean more into circles, rounded out features, things of that nature. People don't like the fact that you can't really tell what's going on underneath clown makeup. They find it very uncanny, and it elicits an uncanny valley response in the brain when you see something that's human-esque but not quite human. And that's where a lot of the fear of clowns, I believe, actually comes from. Clouraphobia is a newfound fear. It came out in around the 1990s, and clouraphobia is the fear of clowns. I do believe it does have a psychological aspect, being the uncanny valley thing, and that's very new. I mean, it's not new, but the term for uncanny valley, I figure, is relatively new as compared to the actual fear of things that look human-like animatronics, clowns, statues, all that stuff. Another reason why, which is interesting because, like I said, there's a lot of religious clowns out there, but also clowns are known to be liars and tricksters. That's like kind of the whole thing. But then many religious people find that that's also Satan is the great deceiver. So then the fear of clowns is rooted in religious fear. It also has to do with lived experience of what you've seen, how you've been treated, what people have done to you. People have had bad experiences with clowns as kids, and that makes them scared. A lot of people haven't met a real clown, and they've only ever seen these media portrayals. Some people, I have had people come to me and tell me they've had bad experiences with circus clowns, party clowns, and all that stuff. And I even had somebody tell me they had a bad experience but they couldn't remember it, which is just really sad. Because like, I aim to bring joy, bring happiness, make balloons for kids, treat people well, make people laugh, at my expense, not theirs. And it becomes very sad, honestly. It's really detrimental to the career and art form of clowning to have a society that sees us as murderers and killers and child predators, when in reality we're not. Even the 2016 clown sightings that happened, nobody was ever actually caught doing anything harmful, just standing there menacingly. So, jot that down, please. Keep that in mind. And at the time, they dropped Ronald McDonald, but not because of killer clowns, but because they didn't want to associate a clown, something so awesome for children, and unhealthy food. Fun fact. I personally do not find clowns scary at all. Last year at my haunted house, I played a clown character. I called them Pavati, and they were not scary. I had to go out of my way to make them very scary, because I don't find clowns scary. So I had to use food coloring in my mouth to make my teeth green or purple. I had to do like a head wound every night, like right here just dripping down my face. Things like that are scary. Demonic clowns can be scary, like art. But it's important to realize that many real life clowns are actually very nice people. They're normal people. They're people that are members of society that just want to bring joy to everybody. So if you're scared of clowns, I would encourage you to find a nice clown. See if you have a clown alley in your area, okay? See if they're doing any shows. Go see the shows. Go immerse yourself in something that's a not scary clown. Because I think the time for scary clowns is over. And I know Art the Clown is scary, and I do like Art the Clown, and I like Pennywise. And I find horror clowns very interesting, don't get me wrong, I really do. And I don't see an actual problem with it. I just see a problem with it when it starts to bleed into the actual career and the livelihood of people when they can't no longer support themselves, and the art form when it becomes something that it's not. So thank you for watching. I tried to do a fair amount of research for this. Maybe in the future we'll do more about it. I find it very interesting, especially coming from the perspective of a clown. And I guess that's all, folks. Have a wonderful day. Be safe. Support your local clowns. And have a nice day.